You have one unheard message. First unheard message sent yesterday at 7:15 p.m.
Hey, Ty, this AI stuff is pretty fascinating, and it's turning the car industry on its head. It's happening faster than I thought. Let's figure out what this means for us. Can you meet me at the gate?
I'm Rich Levene, and this is Meet Me at the Gate, where we're not just talking theory, we're tackling real-world problems head-on, driving solutions that supercharge productivity and team dynamics. Every episode is a journey towards improvement, empowering you, the manager, to lead with innovation and confidence. Join us to transform everyday roadblocks into highways for success.
QoreAI, is that right?
Yeah. So QoreAI.
What is QoreAI? What is that?
So we started, believe it or not, around helping dealers around identity. So preventing fraud, being able to ID customers quickly, whether they're remote or at the dealership. That kind of grew into our ability to help the dealer aggregate all their data, whether it's customer data, inventory data, operational data, onto, I would say, a data structure that allows AI to actually understand it. So if you use ChatGPT, imagine using a ChatGPT for all your dealership data. So you wanted to say something, I don't know, off the top of my head, like show me all my overaged inventory. Now match it to any customers currently in market looking for those particular cars. And using data, we can go through the system really quickly and figure that out. So our goal was to just help dealers make better decisions and be more efficient.
So you're saying like dealerships primarily, you're probably talking more franchise dealers, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, big rooftops, is that right?
Yeah, they seem to be our focus right now. I feel that everything we're doing will translate all the way down to independence at some point. But right now, franchise dealers have more data. And believe it or not, for AI to work at all, you need a lot of data.
That's where I was kind of going with this. So the big dealerships, I'm assuming you've walked into a big dealership that may not have that data. With a click of a button?
Yeah, they do not have that. I find many are stuck behind like 30 Excel tables and pivot tables, or they have a data lake, which we call just a data swamp. We have a swamp in Washington. I guess there's a swamp in every dealership group. And it's a mess. And we found a lot of really interesting things out once you kind of get into the data.
I was saying, so what's the most interesting thing you found in the dealership's swamp?
We did one, and they said, Todd, now listen, we got 1.6 million customers in our data lake, aka swamp. And I said, okay, let's see. Because we have a deep partnership with Equifax, so we resolve everyone to like a file, like meaning they're live and they have a credit file. So out of 1.6 million, it came down to 600,000 real people. There was somewhere in the range of like 290 some Luke Skywalkers who, I guess, to get into something, the guy would just put Luke Skywalker if he didn't know their name. 2% of their customers were 2% were dead. They died, and they're still marketing to them.
Sound like voter registration rolls is what it sound like.
It's so crazy.
So Ty and I have this thing. We talk about how long can we go into the podcast before we talk about what is you do again, Ty?
Transport guy.
So there, we made it 4 minutes on the podcast to find out how long Ty talks about transport. Yeah. So I think the new one is how long do we talk about politics? Because today we made a reference in like less than 2 minutes. But
I apologize.
No, it's the world. It's the world we live in, and it's a great analogy because data can be so messy sometimes. And if you don't have organized data and a data structure, now I'm nerding out on you, Ty.
Oh yeah,
I know you know I'm a nerd. But once you start looking at this data, if you can't query on it, if you can't pull anything back, if your data can't tell you a story, well, then maybe your data is telling you a story. You got really bad data. That could be a story in itself. But you're the expert on this.
Listen, I don't know. I wouldn't say expert. We're saying I'm a lifelong student and learning that it's a constant evolution, data and like identity, fraud prevention. We see fraud prevention like everywhere. It's not just consumers attacking the dealership. 60% of all fraud is internalized. Like it could be a salesperson taking credit applications and copies of driver's license and selling it on the dark web. It could be internal employees logging things in parts that don't exist and skimming the money. And I had a recent conversation with someone all the way down to transport and fraud within dispatching. We've seen that thread, and validating all that is going to be, that's the fight. That's the fight of the next few years, because just as we're using AI, we feel for good, there is an element using AI for bad.
You go into a dealership, you say, we're QoreAI.
Yep.
Let us see your data. Is that how you start?
Yeah,
it's like going to the doctor's office, Ty.
Yeah, Ty.
You're Ty.
Ty.
Let me see your fill in the blank.
Yeah, Ty. You made it sound like it's like I would be like walking in the dealer and say, "Listen, pull up your checking account, buddy. I need to see. Yeah. I want to see what you got.
Just make
like
sure
before.
You got money. Yeah.
Yeah. I think our biggest conversations when we talk with dealerships, it's more like, what are they trying to do? What do they really want to execute in the next 6 or 12 months? And for us, data is always going to be at the center of any executable process, right? Because we make our decisions based on information. So, and I think dealers inherently don't trust their information. They don't trust their data currently. Our goal was saying, okay, help us understand what you're really trying to do. And now let's go look and see if you have the data available, or can we compile it and aggregate it in a way that can kind of put you on the road to where you want to go. And we don't want to make those decisions. We're not marketers, so we don't do marketing like a CDP, customer data platform, or marketing automation. We have no interest in that. There's plenty of, as Batman would say, there's plenty of more interested fellows that want to do those things. And I think for us, it was just help them understand their data. And I don't know, Ty, in your experience, but like, all dealers, they get their data end of month, and then it begins another 30-day cycle of thinking. And everything you're looking backwards to try to look forwards. And there is an element of everything that's happened that you can use to predict what's going to happen next. And that's where AI connects the dots. And it's what AI is really good at, if you can get all the data in one spot, is pattern matching. So it's called like random forest. You can go and you can see things. And for us, our goal is to start helping the dealer kind of bend the curve, see around the next corner. What does the next 7 days, 14 days look like in sales? What opportunities are already alive in their current data? Meaning service customers who might be defecting or interested in a car. Most dealers have no idea about that. Even looking at leads. Like, dealers spend lots of money on leads, right? Leads, I need more leads. But all leads are not equal. Some leads are buyers. Some leads are tire kickers. Some leads are 14-year-old kids on a Corvette, And for us, we want to quickly go, hey, these are your Glenn Ross leads. Focus on these. Those, you still want to follow up, but a different cadence, different voice, different messaging. And the top of funnel people, you just want to tell them you're here when they're ready. To call a top of funnel guy and go, hey, when you coming in? Rich, when you showing up at the dealership? And the guy's like, I just started looking for a car. It's wrong timing and messaging. So I think with all the predictive algorithms now, we can see where the customer's in their buying journey and then help the dealer say, put a different message in front of that one.
So how does this tie into, because I hear this a lot, or at least I see it on LinkedIn all the time, the customer experience from whether it be scrolling through the phone, on the laptop, communicating with the dealership, get to the dealership, completely different story, completely different everything. Have you heard that?
Oh, every day, because this is so crazy. After the pandemic or during the pandemic, all these digital retail tools were built. Take your pick. I won't name names, but there's a ton of them out there. And they're using one form to calculate payments and one form to calculate something. And the consumer believes that that's the dealer doing that. And then they walk into the dealership and the dealer says, forget everything you did online. We have to start over. And the consumer's like, but I just spent an hour plugging in my payments, calculating my trade. And the guy's like, no. Yeah, like
shoe size.
Yeah. What size shoes? I use a breakaway lace. Like I gave you all my info. But for the dealer, again, they don't trust those systems because those systems aren't sharing data completely. So the digital retail tools is using a different set of calculators than the dealer's DMS or the CRM that's doing the desking. And look, I've even seen where the dealer will desk it in the CRM, and then push it to the DMS, and then they recalculate it there because none of this stuff is connected. And it creates,
and it's
honestly,
big
it creates
money
a lot
too.
of work. Yeah.
They're not, this isn't cheap what you're talking about, right? I mean, it's just big money. And then you get a customer who wanted to buy a car, but now they're so mad they're going down the street to buy a car, right?
Yeah, or they just feel like, what kind of fraud, like, what's really happening here? The dealer's trying to screw me. I mean, look, that's where our brains go. Like, you told me it was X, now you're telling me Y, and the dealer's like doing that, I call it the chicken dance. Hey, let me tell you. No. That we didn't count the state tax on the website. And we forgot to add floor mats. And you have to pay for floor mats. And we forgot to add all these things. That's not in our online calculator. And it's crazy when you go through these things because all this stuff is disconnected, siloed data. Auto is so good at this. Like, if we're great at anything, we're about building widgets of a tool that doesn't talk or connect to any other tool. And then we use a series of unconnected tools to try to move a customer through a process. And listen, it causes a lot of friction. It causes bad experience. It costs the dealership millions of dollars. And it happens every day.
You mentioned something a little bit ago. You said you got to trust the data. What we always do in this podcast is we always figure out how do we help managers at auctions or in the auto remarketing become better. And one of the big things is trust, right, Ty? We talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a formula. I've come up with a model for how to build trust. Okay. And the question is I'm going to say, how do you build trust with data? But to prelude that, what I'm going to say is what we talk about is CAT. Consistency, accuracy, and transparency. If you have those three things, then you can build trust. And I don't care if it's writing a condition report, if it's selling a car, if it's in your marital life, your home life, your friendship life. And now I believe we've made another connection, data.
Yeah.
Because I'd say maybe your data's in the swamp if it's not CAT.
Again, if you're getting data from 9 vendors, every vendor is going to curate the data how they want you to see it to protect their income from you, the dealer, right? Or any business. It doesn't matter. You're going to move the data and make you look good, right? And it happens daily. Oh, yeah. And I look at that, and for us, we don't care. We're just we're like their AWS. Put all the data in. Our job is to normalize the data, clean the data, and then you do with it what you want. We don't want to be in their true decision-making process, but we definitely want to be in the trusted process where it's like, look, we're not doing your marketing, so I don't care what you do with the data. We're not selling you a product like that where I'm dependent on the product selling you more cars or doing you something. Our job is very simple. We take data from all these disparate systems, we put it in one place, we clean it all the way up, and then we make it to the point where it's like, I know Todd Smith has touched this store. He buys at your one Honda store, but he services at your other. Or, hey, and I think our goal is help dealers discover how people interact with their business through the data. And I think for us, it's just helping them paint that picture. But I agree with you. It's trust. It has to happen and has to exist.
Earlier, in the very beginning, I heard you mention something about inventory.
Yes.
QoreAI does something with inventory. Could you tell me more about that?
So we bring all the inventory in as well into our data lake. It's not even a lake. It's more of I would call it a data architecture. I would call it more of a enterprise data warehouse is the actual real term of what we manage. So with that, we take the inventory in, and then our goal with the inventory was not only look at the dealer's inventory, but then kind of gleam out and start looking at, well, okay, I have a Chevy Cruze. Well, and it's priced and it's aging. Well, how many others are in the market? How's your car priced into the market? Because if we bring in all the marketplace data, we have the dealer's existing inventory data. Again, the AI can start to spot opportunities inside that data. Like I believe right now, and again, this is my vision of this, we're human AI, meaning as a used car manager, every day I go in and I'm looking at all my cars and I'm looking at how they're priced to the market, and I'm looking at competition in the market, and I'm looking at all these. I do a series of 30 different steps, right, on every single car. And what AI is going to do is it's only going to start replacing some of those steps. So it's going to behave like a co-pilot. But there's a point, even the best used car manager, the AI will be better because it will have seen every iteration. We're humans, we forget things. And though we're locked in, we also have bias. And I'll give you a great example, and maybe you've seen this happen, Ty. You put too much money in a car and you still try to retail out of it. And you just jammed it out, but you're like, there's an idiot out there that's going to come in and buy this car. And you wait. And even though you whacked it wrong, it doesn't matter. You'll just wait. You'll wait it out. And I think when it's a data story, the bias gets knocked out unless you build it into the model, which I would never do. But I think there's a future where we could be more efficient at pricing. We could do dynamic pricing more in real time. You think about it, we're already doing dynamic price to market today, but we do it with humans. I think in the next couple of years, just like you go on StubHub to buy tickets for an event, and all of a sudden or your airline ticket, you go in and how many times, honestly, Ty, have you gone in to buy a ticket, abandoned the process, come back the next day and the ticket's more money?
Every time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time. Guess what? Because the algorithm now knows that your commitment level is higher. You will pay more because you didn't book it the first time. Same concept will happen with cars, especially used cars.
Wow.
New cars are a different structure.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating fact.
Yeah.
Or interesting tidbit. Yeah.
So,
but what you mentioned earlier is this happens so I'm running an auto auction and this happens. I get every one of those guys that missed the mark on the price and they bring all those cars to the sale and all of a sudden they think I'm going to retail them out of that car in a wholesale environment. It's like you get a $5,000 Honda Civic and all of a sudden they want $15,000 for it. Let's tie this back because we're trying to help managers at auctions. Somewhere in this data, we got to be able to have a conversation to go back to the dealer without saying you did it wrong, right, Ty? And just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you might have missed the mark, and I don't know how we're going to preface it, but wow, look, I know you want us to give 15 for this at auction. It's not going to happen. We might get you 4,500 to $5,000 because that's what it's worth. But having that conversation of you probably took this on trade wrong, or you probably bought this wrong to begin with.
Yeah, well, listen, you could just put $10K in the glove box and make it even.
There you go. Yeah.
Right?
Well, that got banned in 1997.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, hey, that's how you make a $5,000 car, a $15,000 car, though. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, look, in the world we live in, again, I feel like helping dealers. So, like at the auction, you're seeing raw, like this is what cars are going for. Like if you're looking, whether I have every dealer, they live on MMR and they're looking at auction reports all the time. When you can take that real time data and push it back in to them at the decision making moment, like, hey, I'm trying to book out this car. Ultimately, we feel, you feel like they'll make better decisions. But let's be honest, half the decision making and appraising cars is gut. They walk out and they're like, yeah, man, this is a good car for me. Or it's like, no, it's a bad car for me. And the gut is going to have to leave part of us because, look, even if the gut's right 80% of the time, those 20% that it hangs us on and it wrecks us. And I feel like, again, I've been in this business a long time, man. We do it by, hey, man, no, I know what that car's worth, and I know what they're running for, but the market, Todd, you're far more in depth into this than I am at all. But my gut is telling me you have to be staring at this stuff every hour of every day because it's so volatile now with the pricing of cars. And what it ran for last week is not what it's going to run for this week. Because it's so changing.
Well, first money is the best money. We all know that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you got to have a title present, right? Make sure you know what you're doing. And if you got it floored right, and if you're telling them why you brought the car there, and if we had your data, for example, we could go back, and that goes back to my CAD theory. But it's like, hey, I brought this car here because you know what? I just flat out screwed up. I paid too much for it. I need some cash back. I'm here to sell it. Let's move it down the road. But instead, what I think goes on is they play all these games. Well, you said you're waiting for the sucker to come in that's going to pay too much for the car. And that happens so rarely that you just don't know what's going on.
Well, think about it. I mean, The cars sit for weeks at auction. Like they'll run, it's a no sale, and then they leave it sit, and it's like just collecting and collecting and collecting. And to me, that's burning floor plan every second.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's not the used car manager's floor plan money, right? It's the dealer's floor plan money. And a lot of times he's like, no, it's at the auction. It's already technically wholesaled. It depends how they're accounting for that in their accounting. Ultimately, I believe technology will help us craft more efficient models and just make us more efficient at moving cars from A to B through processes. And I have no idea how that's ultimately going to work out, but I have seen the power of what AI can do and discover inside the data. And that to me is the exciting point. And how it affects all these things, I'm not the wizard. I just want to be next to the wizard as it's happening.
I look at transport guys, and I always go back and reflect on what's my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is for the car dealer to sell one more car.
Right.
And the reason I want him to sell one more car is because I want to transport the car that replaces it. So I think the data, the mindset, Rich and I talk a lot about being a servant leader, about trying to help people grow. And I think what I'm hearing here, what I'm seeing is let's help the dealer sell another car.
I mean, look, in the end, it is creating what is our last, to me, like real boundary of we're going to find success in like a franchise dealership or any dealership. It's operational efficiency. If we think about it, our world, we're fighting over the same car in a market, and I can only discount it so much for profitability, for my profit per vehicle retailed, right? And I'm always going to have the constraints of the market beating me up on those fronts. And it's going to keep me honest, and it's going to keep me in check. But there's a hidden area that is yet to be explored for many dealers, and that is truly figuring out how to be more operationally efficient with their used car, with their capital, just with their processes, with their inventory and their turn. Operational efficiency there. Because if you think about it, the average new car franchise dealer payroll based on NADA is $5.5 million a year. If I could take 10% out of that, it's over half, $600K or so of net profit. And I didn't change the business, but think about it. No, for every dealer out there, that's a bigger boat. That's a bigger house, right? So I mean, that's putting kids through college.
What market are you in? That's
no. But no, I look at it. It's efficiency, and I think this is where technology and the data is going to take us. And again, that's exciting.
So I think I'm picking up what you're putting down as far as AI. AI is here to stay. It's going to happen. My personal philosophy or theory that's going on is, if we look at history and how different things happen, AI is here to stay. You're going to have to embrace it. I don't believe AI is going to replace human beings, but I believe that if you don't embrace AI, you will be replaced as one of those that aren't willing to. You mentioned it earlier, you got to be able to learn and grow. And that's my personal motto: learn, grow, lead, and create a world of dignity. When it comes down to AI, is we've got to be able to use it. I use AI every day. I'll be honest, nerding out. The day Chat GPT came out, I was on it.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was horrible. I was horrible, but I learned how to start using it and talking to it,
how
and
to write prompts.
and build up a database and build up information in AI. Then it started knowing who I am. And one day, one of my employees went in and set up their own account on ChatGPT and said, "Hey, do you know who Rich Levene is?" And it came back and it told him everything about me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa. So it's scary, but if we're using it for the right purpose, it's really helpful. We got to leverage technology. I think that's what I'm getting to is we've got to leverage technology to help us grow and help us become better.
Yes. I look at it like, I think we're all old enough that we used to get on the internet. We would dial up.
You got mail.
Right. We would dial up. We would get on it. And the internet now is like pervasive. It's every device we have. It's a fluid thing. I think we're framing AI incorrectly, thinking it's like a thing, yet it's going to be pervasively integrated into everything we touch and interact with. And I think once you change that framing, it's like, okay, how? And it's going to be a very fast progression because it learns, as you've experienced, it learns really fast and it doesn't forget. It's like the super elephant of the room. It's cool. And it knows everything about Rich, just like it knows about me and knows about you, Ty, if you're playing with it. And I think the key there is these tools can be leveraged. I think I agree with Rich at the beginning. They're going to act like a co-pilot for us. They're going to work alongside us. And then you're going to see what's called the agentic side kind of take over. It's called autonomous agents. They're going to start doing things in the background for Rich and me and you, Ty. And it's going to be like processes. It's like having assistants doing a bunch of things. And then it's just going to take over those workloads. And then at a point, jobs change, jobs evolve. And that's okay. There's always going to be stuff for us to do. But hopefully it's better, more interesting things that we want to do. Not hey, at the dealership, go build me that Excel spreadsheet of all my inventory mapped to wholesale versus what we retailed out of to what's the average days to get through the shop with RO bill to frontline ready, like the nightmare of data collection and processing that takes to correlate and do that. You're going to hit a button and go, doop, here it is. It's done.
There's a chat GPT prompt for that.
Yeah.
Hey, chat GPT, I need you to build me a spreadsheet to do what Todd just said.
Well, that's what we've been working on at Core. Is like, hey, with prompt engineering, what can we start to compile?
I think you've touched on a couple things that I want to go back on as we wrap up. Speed was one you said earlier. I heard you. I don't think you came out and said that, but how do we do things faster? How do we do things better? Let's look at the analogy of the race car and what happened with pit stops. Go back and look at Formula One, and you watch some of these guys. And the original pit stop was almost 3 minutes long, and they thought they were fast. And today, you watch a pit stop.
1.2 seconds,
yes,
right?
It's 1.2 seconds.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is a race. And that's the way the world's going. So if you're not picking up on this technology and you're not learning how to become more efficient, that was the word you used, more efficient, then you're not going to win the race, because your pit stop's going to take 30 seconds while you're building or 3 minutes while you're building the spreadsheet, while Ty's already out using AI and he's going to have it done in 1.4.
Yeah.
It's not the big that eat the small. It's the fast that eat the slow.
Yeah.
So as we close this out, one, thank you for your time, Todd. Appreciate you. QoreAI. Where can we find you?
Listen, you can find me easily on LinkedIn. I write daily. So whether I shoot videos, I always trying to just help dealers just understand the world we're living in. And I just educate and try to help them there. So LinkedIn is easy to find me. Or you can email me or find me on QoreAI.com. I'm everywhere for that stuff.
So you sent me a connection yesterday after we got connected here at Used Car Week. You sent me a connection, and Ty, when I got it, it says you have 171 connections in common. I'm like, I hadn't even met the gentleman. It just goes to show you how small the auto marketing world is, and how LinkedIn and those different technologies. But what I like about what you just said falls into what I believe in. And you just said you're just here to help people. On my business card, I don't have general manager on my business card. It says general helper. I'm not doing everything.
Mine has nothing on it.
I'm here to help, and I like the fact that you're here to help others.
Absolutely. Look, at the end, if people think we're smart enough, they'll want to work with us, right? I don't care otherwise. In the end, if you believe we can help you, we're going to help you. If you just want to, it was funny. I just had a coffee, or I don't drink coffee. I just had tea. I like my normal green tea in the morning. And I was sitting at a table. I didn't know one person at the table. And the guy's like, oh, no, Todd writes really good stuff on LinkedIn. And I was like, what? I was like, I didn't even know the person. But, but I love the community. And I love the interactions. And I get so much value out of that, where people are like, hey, man, how about this? What about this? Does that work? Does that not work? Man, it's inside that. That's where all the value is to me. Just like, think about it. If we walk into any dealership right now, we walk into any new car store, what are they going to say? Hey, Ty, how is it out there? What's the auction like? What are prices doing? It's like a snap, knee-jerk reaction for anybody in the business. They want to know, hey, what's my competitor doing? What's this? Yeah. And to me, it's like the water cooler. So I look at LinkedIn as kind of like, it's like a fun water cooler. Yeah,
there you go. I love it.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Meet Me at the Gate. I hope the conversation has helped to fuel your drive and equip you with insights to steer your team towards success. Remember, the road to success is always under construction, And until next time, keep your engines revving and your gas tanks full.